If the Red Sox want a big trade this offseason, is there a chance they go fishing? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and just a couple of days ago, some really big news, or at least a really big rumor, came out of the Los Angeles Angels organization, and that is that the Angels would be interested in trading Mike Trout if and only if he would be interested in being traded. Now, obviously, this is a big deal, right? Mike Trout has been with the Angels for 13 seasons now. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. This would be a big-time possible trade for any major league team. Now, the big question is, could the Red Sox get involved? So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to take a look at that possibility. We're going to take a look at what trading for Mike Trout means, what it means statistically, what it means on the field, what it means off the field, and we're going to look at what a trade for Mike Trout could possibly look like from the Red Sox end. Plus, at the end of it all, we're going to try and come to a conclusion as to whether or not it would make any sense at all for the Red Sox if, again, Mike Trout becomes available. Again, just a rumor right now, if it makes sense at all for the Boston Red Sox to pursue Mike Trout. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. I think I'm stating the obvious here, but for some of you guys who maybe only pay attention to the Red Sox or you're new to baseball, trading for Mike Trout would be trading for one of the greatest players of all time. Mike Trout has a 301 average, a 412 on base percentage, a 582 slug over 13 seasons. On top of that, you mix in 3 different MVP awards, you mix in a Rookie of the Year, 9 Silver Sluggers, 11 All-Star appearances, great defense, 85.1 B-WAR over his career, and he is an easy first ballot Hall of Famer on track for one of the best careers in baseball history. This year, he did struggle a little bit, to be honest with you, in terms of Mike Trout standards. Of course, before his hamate injury setting him down for the rest of the season, he was hitting just 263 with a 367 on base percentage and just a mere 490 slug, good for a measly 130 OPS plus, which is just absurd to say, right? Mike Trout's career OPS plus is 176. It leads Major League Baseball in that 13-year time span, and to have the fact that he has a 130 OPS plus be a down year for a guy like Mike Trout is an absolutely ridiculous thing to say. It goes to show just how good Mike Trout is as a baseball player. So when you're looking at Mike Trout just on paper, right, just statistically, obviously there should be no real bad signs here that, hey, maybe we shouldn't trade for one of the greatest players to ever step foot on the diamond. Maybe we shouldn't give one of the greatest players of all time the ability to play in the postseason, right? There shouldn't be any hesitations. But when you pull back a little bit and you don't look at just statistics, you look at everything going on with Mike Trout right now, there are some concerns when we're looking at whether or not the Red Sox or really any team in Major League Baseball should get involved in trading for Mike Trout. The first and kind of biggest glaring problem here surrounding Mike Trout and what it would take to trade for a guy like Mike Trout is his injury history, specifically his recent injury history, right? Because over the last 4 years, including this season, the 2023 season, Mike Trout has only played over 100 games one singular time, and that was just 119 games, so it was still a season where he missed about 45 total games here, but he still managed to get over 100, and again, when he's on the field, he's fantastic. During that 2022 season, where he was able to play in 119 games, he had an amazing 283 average with a 369 on base percentage and a 630 slug, good for a ridiculous 176 OPS plus. His other 3 seasons in that time span where he could not get to 100 plus games is obviously the COVID year, which no one got to 100 plus games in that season, where he played 53, 36 games in 2021 where he somehow still managed to be an all-star, and 82 games this year with, like I said, he had a couple of injuries I believe early on in the season, but the one that's probably going to keep him out for the rest of the 2023 campaign is a hamate bone fracture, very similar to the one that we saw from Yu Chang. Now, Mike Trout is 32 years old, old, meaning that he's not getting any younger, and the possibility of injury increases every single year exponentially that he steps onto the diamond. While Mike Trout statistically is one of the better players to ever play this game, will his body be able to keep up with his mind and with his ability on the field, right? Will he ever be able to play close to a full season again? Will that sort of 119 marker be sort of the expectations going into the year that, hey, we're probably not going to have Trout for a couple, 50-ish games this season, best case scenario here over the next few years of his contract, right? That's obviously the biggest and number one concern with trading for Mike Trout, is whether or not his body can hold up over the course of his entire contract. Now, speaking of contracts, that's the other big thing attached with Mike Trout, because you're not just taking on Mike Trout, you're taking on his massive deal as well. Right now, Mike Trout is scheduled to get, over the next 7 years, $35,450,000 every single year, or a grand total of $248,150,000 left on his deal. So if you combine those two, right, combine the fact that you're paying him $35+ million and the fact that he's getting older, he's getting towards his age 35 season, and he's been injured over the last 4 years, you're talking about a guy who has injury issues, who's getting paid a ton of money, and who's getting older in age. And those are three of the essentially biggest red flags that you can have when you're looking at acquiring either a prospect or a major league talent or a free agent, anything, right? To get that sort of deal, that $200+ million deal from the Los Angeles Angels would be ludicrous to get that and try and have Mike Trout be healthy and be the guy he has been over his career over the next 7 seasons, right? That's a huge risk for any Major League Baseball team, but especially the Red Sox, that locks you into one singular guy, and it doesn't feel like that's something the Red Sox are going to want to do. But there is a chance that, because the Angels are the Angels, right, the Angels take on some of, or a large chunk of, Mike Trout's contract to try and get some valuable prospects back. So what would a trade for Mike Trout from the Boston Red Sox look like? And let's talk about whether or not it even makes sense for the Red Sox to entertain this. So I came up with 2 hypothetical trade situations. The first here is if the Red Sox take on the entirety of Mike Trout's contract remaining, and they just take the player straight up from the Los Angeles Angels, which again is a massive risk. So the price to get Mike Trout, if you were to take on that contract, is a lot lower than people may think, even with his statistical ability to be one of the greatest players to ever play this game, right? You're probably looking at a package of something like Blaze Jordan, Mikey Romero, and Luis Perez, where there are some really high upside prospects in there, but they're not some of your top 10, they're not some of your top 5, they aren't top 100 in baseball, right? These are guys who have a really high ceiling, but they also have a pretty low floor as well. I honestly think this is a little bit of an overpay for what Mike Trout is truly worth, including the money that's coming over with him over the next 7 years. But you're also talking about Mike Trout here. You're not going to be able to get him for absolutely nothing. So if they were to take on the entirety of his contract, the Boston Red Sox, this is probably, I would even say, a little bit more than a deal that you'd be looking at the Red Sox offering. Now, the other hypothetical scenario here is if the Los Angeles Angels want to get some legitimate potential back in return, right? And that would mean taking on some of Mike Trout's contract, or taking on about $148 million of that deal. So the Red Sox technically get Mike Trout for a 7-year, $100 million deal, which kind of changes the situation a little bit, right? Because now you're just giving him about $14 million a year, as opposed to the $35+ million that you would originally take on if you took on his entire contract, which makes this a lot more digestible, right? If you could get Mike Trout, even as he gets into his aging years, on less than $20 million a year, despite the fact that maybe, hey, he plays 80, 90, 100 games to you every single season, maybe that's a little bit worth it for a team like the Red Sox, like the Dodgers, to take on those years and not have to pay that huge amount of money. But either way, obviously, as the Angels increase the amount of money that they give up, they're going to increase the value of Mike Trout as well. Because of that value increase based on the money that the Angels are giving to the Red Sox, you're going to have to give up a lot more to get Mike Trout, right? Especially if it's under that $20 million range. What realistically probably looks like for the Boston Red Sox is 3 decent name prospects or people already already on the Boston Red Sox, right? You've got Jarren Duran in here, you've got Tanner Houck in here, and you've got, say, Don Rafael in here. So now it goes from giving up 3 lottery type picks to giving up 2 potential real high impact players and a player that could have a big impact as well if his continuation of his development increases, right? You're talking about Jarren Duran, who could be a big piece for the Red Sox going forward. Say Don Rafaela, who was at one point, and I think still is, I'm not entirely positive on that, a top 100 prospect and the number 3 prospect in your system. And you're talking about Tanner Houck, who right now isn't the most valuable pitcher in the world, but could have a ton of value if you develop him. The entire trade changes once you add that money in. You can get some youth injected into your team. We'll take on a little bit less than half of that contract. You'll free up some money. This is sort of the scenario that I see the Red Sox really thinking about it, right? If this was on the table and the Angels were going to give up $148 million just to get Mike Trout out of there and give him the opportunity to play in a bigger market and play for a probably more competitive team, right? That could be a legitimate situation where the Red Sox pick up the phone. But I think at the end of the day, the second one of these scenarios where the Angels pony up $148 million feels pretty unrealistic, right? The Angels are trying to, if they do end up trading Mike Trout, or Mike Trout asks to get traded and they do try and trade him, they're going to try and get a lot of that money off the books so they have a little bit more freedom to sign free agents, build up from within, and then try and make another big splash. That seems to never work out for the Angels. But at the same time too, the Angels are kind of a dumpster fire a little bit, right? They're not a very well-run organization. So there is a slight possibility that if Mike Trout wants to be traded, which again, it's still just a rumor right now, the Angels sit there and they go, okay, how can we get something from this? Well, let's give whoever gets him $148 million so that they could give us something good in return. It's honestly not out of the realm of possibilities for the way the Angels have been run over the last few seasons. So while it is unrealistic, it's certainly not impossible. And if you're the Boston Red Sox and you could take advantage of this and try and bring in one of the greatest players to ever play the game, then yeah, let's go for it. But again, realistically, between the time that's left on Mike Trout's current contract, combined with the money that's still owed and the fact that he seems to be body-wise, right, falling apart a little bit, he's trying to get back to a full regular healthy season that he hasn't been able to have in 4 years. There are a lot of red flags there, even for one of the greatest baseball players to ever live. So realistically, I don't think this makes sense at all for the Boston Red Sox to go after, especially because they're trying to focus on youth and developing a core from within, right? Bringing in Mike Trout will limit your ability to get starting pitching because of the money that's attached. It will limit your ability to extend some of these younger guys because of the money that's attached, right? So again, unless the Angels do something ridiculous like give the Red Sox $148 million, or really any major league team, any smart major league team, and hopefully that includes the Boston Red Sox, right, should not be in on trading for Mike Trout. But this video was talking about, could it happen? And I don't think it's not entirely out of the realm of possibilities, especially if Mike Trout actually does want to be traded and the Angels do have to kind of open up that checkbook to try and get Mike Trout somewhere else. But again, very, very, very unrealistic, and the possibility of this happening is like 0.00001%. But again, the Red Sox aren't doing well right now, and this was just a fun little hypothetical to go through. So let me know in the comment section down below, hypothetically, if the Angels came to you as a fan and they said, hey man, what is it going to take for us to get Mike Trout onto the Boston Red Sox? What are you offering? What are you offering from the Red Sox side of things? What are you offering from the Angels side of things? How do you make the Red Sox trading for Mike Trout work? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.